This video is sponsored by NordVPN. Joker has barreled its way into cinemas like a train carriage packed with disgruntled, violent clowns. And look, it may be lacking in some of the traditional elements of your standard comic book movie or origin story, but that doesn't mean that it's not steeped in lore in relation to the various incarnations of the Joker, the comic books, the movies, and so on and so forth. We're going to be covering all the Easter eggs and references, and these are the topics within that, and of course, as always, there are time codes in the description if you want to jump around to any point in the video. And because of this little bit of an extra effort that I put in, this pizzazz, if you will, leaving a like on this video certainly wouldn't go astray. Oh, and spoilers also, obviously. And if you don't like that, well, get the fuck out of here. I'm sorry that was rude, but you know, I'm being edgy, like the Joker. One of the stories that this draws huge inspiration from is The Killing Joke. The elements in particular I'm talking about is the Joker's affinity for stand-up before their transformation into the character. Plus, on top of that, you get a tragic, albeit slightly different tragic origin, which pushes a man just that little bit too far, causing him to snap and reassess how they see the world around them. But if you want specifics, like in The Killing Joke, Joker ends up on a famous talk show at one point. And like in the movie, everybody thinks that it's going super well until it takes a turn and somebody is violently killed. Robert De Niro in the movie, an audience in The Killing Joke. Now, of course, this movie also acts as an origin for Batman in a way. We watch Thomas and Martha Wayne get killed yet again. Here's a quick montage of that, if you happen to miss the hundreds of different adaptations of it. Social worker Deborah Kane. She's actually in the comic Batman Ultimate Evil. And not only that, her name Kane is based off Batman co-creator Bob Kane. And by co-creator, I mean, he said to Bill Finger, "What if there was a character called Batman and he looked like this?" And Bill Finger went, "Yeah, but what about instead of a dumb costume, a good costume, and this is his logo, and this is his backstory, and this is his Batmobile?" You know, basically all the things that people know Batman for. The other thing is, like in some versions of the comic, Bruce Wayne and his parents are actually leaving the theater after seeing Zorro. And of course, some versions of Batman have Bruce Wayne actually draw inspiration from Zorro as the idea behind this masked vigilante. And yes, young Bruce Wayne does make an appearance in this movie. At this point, we're not getting any sequels, so we're not going to actually watch that character develop into Batman. Probably. But that being said, you never know. Or just watch Gotham. And of course, we get the appearance of Alfred. And off the back of that, we get a number of comic book locales. Wayne Manor, Arkham State Hospital, which in this universe, I believe, acts as some kind of Arkham Asylum, as it seems to be more of a mental health facility. And of course, we get graffiti for Amusement Mile, which shows up in a number of Batman stories, but in particular, that's where a lot of the Killing Joke happens. All right, Batman movies. Now, Bruce Wayne's death being tied to the Joker, sure, that pops up in some comics probably, but probably the most famous version of that is from Batman 1989, where Jack Napier, who becomes the Joker, is directly responsible for their murder. In this movie, of course, he's more indirectly responsible, but he's still responsible in some respects because he inspired a bunch of murderous clowns. Like the Heath Ledger version of the Joker, he also paints on his makeup, and also like the Heath Ledger Joker, he's got dyed, long, raggedy hair. We also get him riding in a squad car, like Heath Ledger's Joker. And of course, you probably remember a large portion of Batman Begins revolved around this Gotham Railway line, and we get the Gotham Railway line in this. There are also nods to Batman v Superman. There's an Excalibur poster in the theater as Bruce Wayne and his parents are leaving it. That means that this movie, or at least this portion of it, is set around 1981 when that was released. And this might be a coincidence, but Arthur Fleck's name might be a reference to Ben Affleck because of the A. Fleck of it all. Again, it could be just a coincidence. I tend to think that it's not. I mean, come on. Also, Arthur Fleck is so down on his luck in this movie, he appears to be holding the sadness of 3 sad Afflecks. God, this is so much sadness. This is almost too much to bear. Oh my God, it feels like the one on the left is the saddest for some reason. I mean, it's the same footage, but good Lord. Oh my God, this is so sad. It's excruciating.
I agree.
This movie, of course, references other movies. I'm sure this wasn't lost on you, but a lot of this is an amalgamation of Taxi Driver. You know, it's all about a man spiraling out of control, railing against society, getting really skinny and such. There's also a fan theory that the end of Taxi Driver, where everything kind of ends up okay, is a hallucination. And of course, this movie is not without its hallucinations. It could all very well be hallucination. That's right, it's one of those movies where people will endlessly debate about it. Another Scorsese movie that it draws heavy influence from is The King of Comedy, which actually also stars Robert De Niro as a kind of a flailing sociopathic comedian who blackmails his way onto a late night talk show. And as a result of that, he gets his own talk show, like Robert De Niro has in this movie. Does that mean it's the same universe? No, it's not the same universe. Why would you even think that? What's wrong with you? It's a homage, it's coincidence. But speaking of homages and coincidences, but more homages I'm talking about, one of the shirts that Arthur Fleck wears has a very similar pattern to one of the jackets that De Niro wears in King of Comedy. Also, this red suit is not dissimilar. Though it could easily be said, though, that the style of this is very much in the vein of the Cesar Romero Joker. You know, the one who decided to paint over his own mustache. And I think that's the scariest thing the Joker's ever done. I mean, look at this. This is a man on the edge. If you ever saw this, you'd be like, what are you doing? It'd be better, how about this, if he had a green mustache like his green hair. That would really take to the next level. Does the Joker have green stubble? I think he does. I have a memory of that in my head. I'll try and find a picture. I didn't find one. There's a couple of other movie posters seen outside the theater. One is for Wolfen, which is a 1981 detective/werewolf movie, and also the Russell Brand comedy Arthur. His bed was a magnet.
My bed is made of magnets.
Sorry, I mean the original comedy with Dudley Moore. It's also about a buffoonish 1% dude. It's holding a mirror up to society. You get it. And speaking of the movie that the 1% of Gotham are watching that Arthur Fleck sneaks into, that's a Charlie Chaplin film called Modern Times. You know, it's about factory workers and being oppressed and men sliding through cogs on a machine. This is actually really incredible. The only conveyor belt scene I can think of that matches this is George Lucas's Attack of the Clones. Truly stunning. And on top of that, Arthur Fleck is dressed as a bellboy, which could be a nod to Jerry Lewis's The Bellboy. And Jerry Lewis was, of course, in The King of Comedy. Now, this is, of course, a comedy movie of sorts, a dark comedy. You know, it's reflecting society. It's like, this is society, but, you know, this is a mirror. This is a mirror of society. You see society one way, but this is what society's really like. We're holding a reflection up to you and society. Anyways, there's a bunch of comedians in this who people might be familiar with. Brian Callen makes an appearance. He's wearing a fantastic wig. It looks really good. Gary Goldman also. At one point, we see him performing stand-up in the club. And of course, Mark Maron plays the producer of Robert De Niro's talk show. But his role also doubles, of course, as a guy who says, hey, you know how those two cops were half beaten to death and there's clowns in the street flipping cars and burning shit? Maybe we shouldn't let this guy, this clearly unhinged guy wearing clown makeup on national television. Maybe we should check him for a gun. And then De Niro's like, nah, what's the worst that's gonna happen? Haha, bloody famous last words, shot in the head, De Niro. Right, okay, so we've hit the part of the video where I've recorded some extra audio because these Easter eggs didn't fit into a particular topic, or more likely because I forgot to include them on my first pass through. Okay, starting with, the Joker isn't really Bruce Wayne's brother in this movie as it is initially thought. But there is a fan theory that fans have theorized that Bruce Wayne's long-lost brother in the comics is actually the Joker. P.S. though, he's not. This image here looks a lot like the Jack Nicholson Joker. And wow, what a blatant Easter egg, right? Well, no, actually, I found this image and it's Robert De Niro. Wow, we are 2 for 2 on things that certainly aren't Easter eggs from this movie. You probably noticed at the start, but the Warner Brothers logo used is the one that Warner Brothers used from a lot of the 70s up until the early 80s. That matches the time period of this film. The comedy club where Arthur Fleck performs stand-up is Pogo's. Pogo being the clown name of real-life serial killer clown John Wayne Gacy. We see little Bruce Wayne slide down a pole at Wayne Manor, could be a nod to the 60s series. And also the font used for Live with Murray Franklin is the same font as Batman the Animated Series. Cybersecurity, it's important. When I was a teacher, I used to talk about it constantly, to the detriment of all my other teaching duties, which is why a service like NordVPN is so important. I mean, it's useful for so many things. First of all, it doesn't log any of your data, and NordVPN's Chrome browser plugin is lightweight and user-friendly from just the very first click. It secures your browsing in seconds, which is great if, like me, you do a bit of peer-to-peer sharing, because using NordVPN will encrypt your browsing data, which is basically a technical way of saying nobody knows who you are or where you are. That also means you can access streaming services on shows available exclusively in other countries. Plus, it also works on Android and iOS. For a limited time, you can actually get 70% off a 3-year plan at nordvpn/ Mr. Sunday Movies. Now, this special offer makes your subscription only $3.49 a month. And for a short time, use the code Mr. Sunday Movies, all one word, to get an extra month of Nord for free. That's nordvpn.com/Mr. Sunday Movies with the code Mr. Sunday Movies. All that is linked below. Anyways, are there any other Easter eggs of note? I mean, I'm absolutely sure there are. If you got any, if you could leave them below, that'd be great. Also, do you think this movie should have leaned more into the comic book elements? Also, you know what else would be great? I have a podcast called The Weekly Planet where we talk movies and comics and TV shows. This comes out every Monday morning, and this Monday we're talking Joker, a spoiler-heavy review. The good, the bad. There's a lot to say about this movie, and I'm dying to kind of really get into it. So if you want to come along for that, that'd be great. It's linked below. Also linked below is my Birds of Prey trailer breakdown, if you want to check that out. But thanks for watching this video. I genuinely appreciate it. Take care.